So welcome to the node.js Community Security Working Group meeting for September 4th, 2018. We'll follow our standard agenda. First, starting out with any announcements that people have to share.
So, hey guys, I'm new to the group, and I think you might remember me from the NodeDB issue. So, I'm still working on it, and yeah, thank you for having me.
Sounds good. The other announcement I guess I'll put out there is we do have a panel at Node.js Node plus JS Interactive next week, a security panel where we're going to be talking a bit about the work that this team does. So if you can help promote that, or if you're going to the conference, it's something to consider to showing up to. We hope that it will be interesting, and it's a good opportunity to learn a little bit more about the security in general and what the security working group is doing. Note on that.
Are you ready, Liran, for the panel? You will do great.
We're
doing a walkthrough later today, so we'll have a good run through to get ready. Okay, so moving on to the things tagged for the agenda. The first one is 402, which is refactor report ID field to be auto-generating. It's also tagged as a deadline of 10/11/2018. So I'm just somebody, I don't know if Loran or Vladimir, you were the ones who opened that. I guess Loran, you did. So you want to take that one?
Yeah, let me my mind with that. Right, so I believe we opened that to get some consensus about the auto-generating. So there's two stuff in that. We need to get consensus on whether the auto-generating ID that we want to use makes sense. We got a few thumbs up for that, but I think I tagged some of the security working group people. I think maybe we'll just do it again as a reminder. And that part of that is that, yeah, that needs to wait a bit of time, like the 60 days, until we're able to push the chain. So I think we can probably leave it as the agenda for the next time, just to conclude it. And I'll go ahead and just try to ping to people to come and just speak their mind on it and see if we can get a full go with.
Okay, so just in terms of what's there, so it's basically going to take the current time and convert that to a string that includes letters and numbers?
Right, yeah, we're just, the details itself for, just so it's easier for us to do this auto-incrementing stuff and not have to manually look into the current NPM for the files IDs and in current open PRs. What we're going to do is just take the current timestamp to the microsecond level and just convert that to a base that is high enough to give us both a short string, like it's not too long, as well as enough room to grow for 20, 50 or something like that. So the next 50 years. So I think that should cover it.
That sounds to me, the only question I have is, does anybody depend on looking at the highest number to figure out if there's new ones? Like today, they're sequential, right? So if you wanted to say, hey, what's new since I last looked, it would be pretty easy to figure that out.
They still have a unique They still have a unique ID, so I believe people should be able to update.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And it's a good point. I think that we also have the date field, so the published date and the created. So if they wanted to do that based on time, they could just parse it and just based on that date or something like that. So that would also work.
Right. You'd have to look inside the file. So right.
Yeah, which and when people get that, they anyway have to parse it and put it somewhere.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like an increasingly extra effort that people need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any major concern. I was just curious if that was anything that people had commented or thought of, because it'd be the one sort of shortcoming that would pop to the top of my head. But
true, yeah, it's not going to be immediately visible through the idea that we want to have there. That this is like an old one or a new one. You're right. We're going to lose that effect. And we can opt into maybe a different way to just use dates. But because we are maybe foreseeing a lot of vulnerabilities, we don't have the luxury. Like if you have two vulnerabilities on the same date, you will not be able to, on the same day. We will not be able to do it automatically. You'd have to like manually add like a +1 and +2 to them, and then we lose this ability.
No, yeah. I mean, what if we just added like a month, a day, month, year?
Yeah.
Does that make it too long?
Oh, you mean
to the tag?
You mean just add it after the incremental ID?
Yeah. I don't know. Like if it makes it too long, then not necessarily, but it's just.
Maybe.
I mean, so what do you is your goal there? Michael, I think your goal is you want to see what the newest ones are, but what if the repository is reorganized in a fashion where there are individual directories for each module? Then you lose that anyway. So
that's true.
Again, like, I don't know what the benefit is really to that.
The main thing that made me think of this is even for I was trying to see if there was a vulnerability for a core module. And from the number, like even our old numbering was useless for that. So other than like opening them up and looking inside, it was really hard to see. Like based on a CVE number, for example, couldn't necessarily see that, oh yeah, we have a CVE assigned to that. We have an entry in our database for that CVE. But yeah, so that's kind of the thing that made me think about that. Now I don't want to push it if it's like, yeah, no, that doesn't bother anybody else. I was just throwing out ideas.
I think that's a great transition for our next topic, actually.
Okay.
Which is moving vulnerability to its database to its own repo.
Yep.
So I'm probably doing that next week because I will be like full-time doing node.js stuff in Vancouver, and we finally have time for that. And I really believe that the Ruby advisory repository is a great example for that. So I will probably push forward to have the same directory structures where each ecosystem module has its directory that contains its vulnerabilities. And we could have exactly the same thing for core modules, right? If a vulnerability affects one core module in particular, it could be in a subdirectory. Also, I will do a quick demo of something I've started to set up. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been working with a guy from Algolia. So for those who don't know Algolia, it's basically search as a service. And they are willing to give us a free plan to basically have a public free managed API for the whole database. Meaning, if I'm just looking for if there is any vulnerabilities in the module MS, I just type MS in that search bar, and I'm probably enabling CI in the new repo for this to be always up to date and to make it publicly available for everyone who might want to use that for core and ecosystem.
Now, this is a programmatic API, right?
It is.
So you mean it's an API, like an HTTP API on top of this website, right?
Basically, I will provide an NPM module that anyone can use and say, is this module with this version vulnerable? And the module will fetch the API itself and do the same ver check by itself. But if people just want to query that, that's simple curls. All they need now is the API key. But Algolia is willing to help me build a proxy to have anyone being able to fetch anything without a key.
This search you just did, is that going to be somehow available as a result? Or is that a program you've put together yourself?
So that's basically Algolia's demo. I just clicked generate a demo with my dataset, and it has been created.
Because I'm just thinking that would be, if there was somewhere you could just go to say, okay, I'm looking, do we have a CV, this CV in our database? Rather than having to write something, if there was actually this available to be used, that would actually be pretty handy.
Basically, with Algolia, we can search on any field at any time, and it's all managed and hosted. So yeah, I believe what you're asking is totally doable.
Okay, so basically they would host like an app like this, where basically it would be like, okay, search the database, and
we can even host that on GitHub. It's just like a front end, just a front end piece.
Right. So if that was actually on, basically on from our README or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's a README for the, if it's a separate repo for the vulnerabilities, if it's a README there, you could click on search. That would be quite handy.
Exactly. So I've been discussing with the folk at Algolia, so they will give us a multi-user community plan, meaning that I will be able to grant access to that to other member of the working group. And after that, it will just be a CI management to push data as soon as it's merged.
Okay. We should definitely document that in the repo somewhere, along with all of our contacts, and probably a CC to the TSC, just saying, hey, because we're kind of taking a dependency here.
Yeah, that.
So it seems nice. So I guess in this case, the format of the actual name that we're using, like you said, doesn't matter nearly as much if you can just search on the CVE or the name or whatever.
Yeah, right. The only constraint is we will have to put an Algolia logo somewhere else next to a search bar.
Okay.
That's basically the deal.
Looks really good.
Yeah. So I think next week, since I will be fully Node, I'll be able to prototype everything and set up everything. And we'll do the announcement for the migration of the database when it's ready.
Okay.
All right. I can go ahead and document that.
Okay, anything else on that topic before we move to the next one?
Pretty good.
Okay, I'm just taking a comment actually for the previous one. Please review. Okay, so the last one was create, issued a proposed session at JS Interactive Collaborator Summit, which is 358, which I believe we have and is on the agenda, right?
I believe it is. I've seen you sending a message to ask for a session in the agenda.
Yeah, let me just...
So yeah, will be day one at 9:15.
Okay, here I'm going to actually put that in here. We are on day one, 9:15. 9:15?
9:15, it seems, yeah.
Sure, because I thought there were like some single track things.
Oh, day two, my bad. Day two.
Okay, day two makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think there's anything else to talk about on that front, unless we want to, the agenda, if we're still happy with the agenda we have. Was the community believe the security working group should be working on? Security guidelines. Jamie Davis will be there, and I think he has, I did ping him, so I'm going to say Jamie. No, it's Davis Jan.
Yeah, David Jam.
Yeah. Reminder that.
I read a couple of papers that he worked on, and they're pretty good and advanced. So that would be really cool if we can work with him.
Yep. No, he's definitely getting more involved. He's also getting involved with the benchmarking work group. And I had talked to him before. He's like I think he's he's at school, but he's like an IBMer who's often at school and working back. And I think he came back for the summer, now back is at school, stuff like that. But, okay, so just in terms of the agenda there, any tweaks we need to make, or still happy with that?
Still seems good to me. We only have 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think it should be like 90 minutes.
Oh, yes, my bad. Oof, sorry. I'm not thinking through.
No problem. 90 mins. Okay, that sounds good. So that's what we had on the agenda for this week. Anybody have any other topics they want to talk about, or?
I'd love to just get an update from the team on how things are going with the ecosystem program, and is this stuff going well there? Are there any things that you need, changes you want to see, or things like that?
Reed, I think we need to to resume the program. I think it's still on pause.
That should automatically happen, but I can take a look and see.
I think it happens only after we triage. Yeah, it's still paused because I think it only resumes after we cleared up the entire queue. So at this point, we have only 2 items that haven't been triaged. So those are the only stuff that are left. And if no one will pick them up, I'll try to do that over the weekend or something. But that's basically it. So if it would be possible to resume the program, I think we'd appreciate that.
So for my benefit, when does it get suspended?
It looks like if you exceed the
SLA
targets. I don't know if I can. Let me see. Can I go higher than this?
I think we can. I was thinking about adjusting it since we've been paused. I think this is the 3rd time already, and we have a lot of workload on the team. So I've been thinking a couple of times whether we want to fine-tune those values, but we've also always tried to add more members to the triage team, like one meeting after another. So I was kind of optimistic that we would be able to just meet the times, but
yeah, let me see if it's possible to increase that, and I'll get back to you. I'm not sure about that.
What's the current time set to?
The time to first response is 5 business days. Time to triage is 10 business days.
I think it's less for us, no? Let me check. Is that for us or for like a default for the programs?
That's for you. I just looked.
Oh, okay, got it.
That means that you're not getting our first. If you're getting paused, it's because your first response is greater than 5 business days, and the time to triage is greater than 10 business days. So that's 2 weeks.
So actually, we've got a bot that welcomes people. So I think that's mostly.
What was it, Vladimir? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, we've got a bot that welcomes people. Right?
Yeah, but it doesn't triage it. So the issue is
it's
not
the first response time.
Right. Yeah, that's the issue there.
Okay, so it's really the 10 days for triaging that's been getting us, if it sounds like.
10 business days, to be clear.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. I mean, we can increase that for now.
I think we really need to hire more triagers.
Hire. I like that terminology. Recruit might be a good word. Or...
Yeah, probably. I trust you on the.
Oh, that's we're gonna do at the panel next week. So
Yep.
Yeah. Liran and I will shake as much hands as possible and try to
That's right.
recruit.
Now, if anybody shows any interest at all on the security side, I'll also make sure that that's one of the things I point them to you to try and get into that side of things too.
Regarding the core triage program on HackerOne, I think it's getting pretty smoothly because we have much less vulnerability reported, but we have a big level of unapplicable reports so far. That's just a constatation at this point.
So sorry, saying on core, a good portion of them are not applicable?
I mean, yeah, a good portion of them are out of scope or not applicable.
Right.
That's kind of expected with I mean, some of these are just like, turns out it's like the node community says that this is expected, and maybe there needs to be documentation updates from the ones I'm looking at.
We also have people who try really hard to find stuff and who report things in libraries tests, which is really, really out of scope at this point. But yeah.
I guess it's better to have too many than too few, though. So
I agree. And yeah.
Read
any other questions?
No, I may have some stuff coming up in the future. Can't nothing yet, but well, actually, one question I had on this too is like something we had talked about a while ago, and honestly, this would be dependent on having the staff in order to handle the workload. But we had talked about reaching out to the foundation to get funds to actually pay bounties for vulnerabilities in top node modules. I don't know if that's still up for consideration, but if that is the case, that's definitely going to increase the amount of new reports. And so the scale problem needs to be fixed first.
Right.
Right.
It sense with the announcement of today.
Yep.
Because
yep.
There might be a merger between the JS Foundation that, in my understanding, holds some of the most popular projects in the ecosystem so far. So I guess de facto, we would probably help this project handling their security side. I'm not sure how this will end up.
Yeah, I think that, that it can go any way from each project is completely, possible to stay independent, do their own thing. But I could see that, projects would be like, well, why have to work, set up a whole working group or team or whatever. Let's just join a common one as well. The one thing I've also heard mentioned related to that this made me think about, Reed, is I saw some tweets or blogs or whatever about it's great to post bounties for people reporting things, but what about helping people fix things? Because for a commercial product, okay, you're basically saying let's pay people to help us report things, and then there's a business interest for somebody to fix it. For open source, it's a bit different. And so I wonder if there's any, you guys have had any thoughts about, you could have a bounty which is both to report and then to fix.
Yeah, I think that's totally doable for remediation purposes. That definitely can be written into the scope. But again, just where's that money coming from? If the Node.js Foundation or JS Foundation, whatever the final name will be, wants to give money, paying for remediation of security issues is definitely a possibility. There's a couple of different ways we can do it in platform to make that doable. But we can definitely work on that and make something happen. If that is something that you all have the funds for and want to actually see happen, we are more than happy to help make that happen on our side.
Has anybody else done something along that line?
It's definitely come up a few times. There's a few, I don't know what the right term is, but few nonprofit groups that have want to basically incentivize the fixing of security issues in kind of core infrastructure stuff. And so we're in discussions right now with a few of them on kind of ways to make that possible. But the remediation part, so actually a long time ago when IBB first launched, I think they actually offered bounties for remediation of issues, and they found that sometimes the patches that they would get were just terrible quality. And so, and then the developers had to argue back and forth with them on the quality of the issue and things like that.
That's sort of what I was trying to understand is like that. Yeah. So whether it's a good idea or not.
I think it's doable. You can also frame it in a different way and not have it based off the security bugs themselves, but based off security enhancements. So if you look at Google's patch rewards program, they pay for security enhancements to projects, and they pay maintainers as well. So if a developer actually improves the security of a project in scope, then Google will actually pay for that fix. So that's another way of doing it. Another option is that that you can also pay a known security consultancy company to help either like review those diffs ahead of time that people submit, or actually submit the diffs themselves, like try to fix the issues. So there are ways to do it.
Right. Have you seen open source projects pay in that way, or is that like I can see again if your business makes sense? Open source project, I'm not familiar with sort of the background or sort of common practice along those lines, if there is any.
What, for paying for bugs of that, like fixes of that nature?
Yeah.
I mean, Google may do something in some of their stuff. I'd have to go back and look and see. I've seen people do like stuff on Bounty Source occasionally, like bounties for fixing bugs in general for things. As far as like hiring a consultancy firm to help with that, I haven't seen that done, but it's definitely something that could be done. I'm sure there's several firms that would be open to some kind of retainer mod thing where they get basically the way I would envision is that they would have some kind of regular retainer to be on call for this stuff. And then basically they would get paid based off the issue fixed on a per issue basis type stuff or something.
Yeah, I'm sure there's businesses you could find to take the money. I'm more like, is it something that open source projects do, or?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's if there's money allocated, we can make something happen. I'm a huge advocate for improving open source security. It really comes down to the funding, and this is not like, just to be clear, this is not money that would be going towards like HackerOne. This is stuff that like I'm caring about from like, okay, this is money that's going towards the researchers who are finding the issues or the people who are fixing the stuff. Yeah, like this case.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions on that front?
It really makes sense, but the whole topic about funding open source is huge. So I know that someone is trying to set up a license with a legal team to give to ensure that maintainers of code get funded for their code. So I can ping him to know if they have started to brainstorm about what about vulnerabilities and security in that context, and how someone could deserve more money or less based on security.
Okay, so the license, they're talking about coming up with a new license, which is, hey, you can use this, but you need to do X or something.
Yeah, basically that, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, it'd be interesting to understand those different things because, yeah, I suspect that certainly whenever the funding and money gets into play, it gets a lot more complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's ask people around us next week.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
We'll have countless of people who are involved in open source. Maybe it's a good occasion to discuss.
Okay, so any other things to ask or discuss before we move on to the Q&A section? I guess not. So just looking now at the chat, I see, Velimir, that you posted if there's any questions. Don't see any yet, but maybe we'll give a few more seconds.
I think I'm the only viewer of the chat, to be honest.
Okay. It does say one, right? So I think you're right. Okay, so I think that's probably it for this week. And so I know Vladimir and Laurent, you're both at Node Summit or Node plus JS Interactive next week. I don't know, Reed, if you're going to be there, or Vibhav, if you're going to be there.
I will not be. I need to come at some point, but I will not be.
Okay.
HackerOne is I think we're like a sponsor of Node.js, so I don't know if we'll have somebody there. Might, but I'm not sure. I will not be there.
Okay. And Vibhav, were you going to be there? No? Okay. I was just going to say, if other people are going to be there, we should have make an effort to find each other and get together. Okay, so I think that's it for this week, unless there's something else. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry for this. So I just wanted to ask. So where else can I maybe help contribute or something? Because I'm having a little confusion as to what else do I contribute to help out the security working group.
I think if we pull off with the 412, what was it? Yeah, the 412, the ideas. It's probably a good change that we can make, and you've already done a great change before with the with going through the markdown. I'm just not entirely sure that we are all on consensus on that. So that's my only concern, that just not save the effort for you to not just do that and then get upset with it. So I just would like you to have a better experience for that. So maybe I'll try to point you at some of the items that you could just take off, that we kind of have consensus on, and you can just jump in and help.
So the thing got reviewed, and I kind of went through it, and what I had done was actually not up to the mark, because when I so some of the apostrophes which weren't being seen, like the select SQL statements and all, so it didn't make complete sense. But I think it would be important for some way to figure out some markdown parsing method. So I think that would be the next step for that. And so I'll look into 412, as you said.
All right.
Is that issue 412? Because I'm looking and I don't.
Yeah. The Michael 412 is the one I think we started with the ideas, the incrementing ideas. Oh, sorry, I said 402. I'm sorry.
402. Okay, great. Thanks. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And I think we have probably, it's better if we just maybe communicate on stuff that you work on, so that we can give you some ideas to work on. And I haven't, off the top of my head, some other ideas as well. Like I wanted to add some tests to the reporting tool. Like if you want to do some more node logic stuff and like improve that, or just add the jest test that we've been wanting to do for a while. Like let's try to talk together and find out like what you really want to do. And there's a bunch of stuff that you can easily take off, and we need help for that. So.
Okay. So I'm looking at 402. That's the first issue that we were discussing. Right? So regarding the UID naming schema.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And thank you so much for joining.
Okay, so do you guys each have each other's like emails or whatever you need to set up a time to sync?
Yeah, we're on the Slack channel. And,
okay.
We have joined that for a while, so we're good there.
Okay. Okay. Anything else for today? No. Okay. Great. Later. So we'll see a bunch of you next week, and then otherwise other people at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
See you guys. Thank you.
See you guys.